It is a shocking video at the center of a national conversation. An ICE agent shooting and killing a civilian in the middle of a Minneapolis street. Now, over the last 24 hours, Americans have hit the streets to voice their outrage and call for accountability. You're looking at videos from protests in every corner of the country, from New York to Seattle, Southern California to Central Florida, and all across the Midwest. In fact, we even had our own small demonstration in downtown Detroit with larger protests scheduled for Friday and Saturday. And tonight, we want to take a closer look at the video at the center of all of this and the renewed debate over use of force. Joining us now to highlight some key points investigators will be looking at is former Detroit Police Assistant Chief Steve Dolunt. And with Steve's help, we're going to really go through the video and pause it at key points to take a look at the complex factors that went into both this tragic outcome and the intense investigation in the days and weeks ahead. And Steve, we thank you for joining us here tonight.
No problem. Thank you.
Now, obviously, there are mixed versions of what happened before the cameras started rolling. So we're going to focus specifically on what we can see with our own eyes. So let's start here as we see law enforcement members pull up to the scene and exit their vehicle right there. And they begin walking towards an SUV that's parked on the road. So I guess, Steve, the first question I have here is, what's the thought process of not just driving around or alerting this person by laying down their horn? What do you make of this first process, this first step?
I wouldn't pull in front of the vehicle because it's occupied. She's already blocking the street. You don't want to get another accident and have the passenger of the ICE vehicle injured. So that's one reason I wouldn't go around. The second, it appears there's a vehicle over here, ICE vehicle, right, blocking her in. They both get out of the car and approach from the side, which is smart. I'm assuming there's an officer on that side trying to investigate her. So I can understand this. This I got.
This part we understand.
This I'm good.
So let's unpause the video and we'll see as the officers actually approach her vehicle, and one of them goes right to the door to try and open it. Now, here's the issue. Granted, we don't have the body cam audio. We don't even have body cam video because they weren't wearing it. But if you had to guess, what's being said in this moment?
Turn off the car, because I've been there, done that, unfortunately. Turn off the car and exit the vehicle. Because the window's down. The window's, right? He's reaching in.
Yep.
And so the window's down, and I'm told that there were mixed, the officers had given mixed commands. Get out of the car, put your hands up, stay in the car, whatever. He's reaching in to unlock the door because the door's locked. She's not obeying a lawful command, it appears right now.
When you say, so if you go up to someone who's in a car and they're not obeying your command, how common is it to unlock the door and try to open it yourself?
Well, usually the window's rolled up, they don't want to talk to you. But in this case, it's down, and whatever she's saying. So you don't want to get out. Okay, I'm going to unlock the car. I'm asking you to get out. You don't want to get out. That's fine. I'm going to get you out. Now, unlike what happened in Melvindale, where they tased the person, he hasn't done that.
Right.
He's like, get out of the car, get out of the car. She's not getting out of the car.
And so, Steve, let's go ahead and unpause the video again and advance this just a second or two as the driver begins to pull away here. Now the officer who ultimately fired the deadly shots is being kind of obscured behind the colleague there, as you can see. But if you look closely, you can actually see his gun has been pulled from the holster.
Yes.
In this step, anything alarming, anything speaks to you?
Yes. First, why is he in front of the car? The car is a deadly weapon. So why would you place yourself in front of the car? Now, he may have been walking around, but that's a deadly weapon. So now you're going to pull your gun out. The other two officers don't have their gun out, and they have direct contact with her. They don't perceive an immediate threat. He does. Now, in hindsight, we've heard that he was dragged down the street several months ago, the same officer.
Right.
Okay. Tactically, I'm not happy with that. And again, these two do not have their weapons drawn. They do not, it doesn't appear that they're in fear of their life. Why he's doing that, I can't speak.
And so there are question marks for you here as to why, again, the placement of this officer. Why are you standing here?
Yes.
You would say if you were deputy chief and this was your office, you'd say you should have stood over here.
Yeah, or stayed on this side of the vehicle, because you have an ICE vehicle here. There's the curb right there, unless she's going to drive up there. Why are you placing yourself in danger? That's my opinion.
Well, Steve, let's go ahead and advance the video just a few frames here, just a few frames, as the officer fires, there it is, 3 times through the driver's side window and the front windshield, striking the driver, who then crashed into another vehicle a little way down the street. And when you look at specific time codes here, and I want to kind of show this to you, you'll actually see those 3 shots were all fired within 11 and a half seconds of the officers actually exiting their vehicle and arriving at the scene. So when we look at this specific video angle, it ends here, but that's not where the story ends.
No.
And so what do you make of what's going to happen here as we're going to show you this next clip? We're going to play a clip for you full screen of an encounter that happened just a few minutes later. So take a close look at this.
Okay.
Can I go check a pulse?
No! Back up! Now!
I'm a physician.
I don't
Listen,
care.
we understand. We got EMS coming. I get it. Just give us a second.
We have medics on scene. We have our own medics.
Where are they? Where are they?
All right, right there, you're hearing from concerned bystanders, including a doctor, as Renee Good lays motionless in the driver's seat of the car. That doctor was basically denied access to the victim. Ambulances got there just a few minutes later, but according to our Minneapolis Fox station there, ICE vehicles blocked ambulances from actually reaching the scene. And finally, 15 minutes later, agents carried her limp body to paramedics. She didn't die there at the scene. She died at the hospital, but nonetheless, time was lost there. Now, a lot of people are actually pointing to this moment as another big problem in how the first aid element was actually handled or not handled. And so you got a lot going on here between the shooting and the first aid problems. What are your thoughts of what you saw there?
Okay. So when you block a street, the problem there, it's unlawful because you're preventing egress and ingress in a case like this for first responders to get there. When you have this and this shooting, you try to get the individual out as soon as possible to get medical attention. So why you would deny, if it's true, EMS to get there is beyond me. You want them to get in there because even though you're an ICE agent, you're not a medical professional. You may have been trained in first aid, but this person's been shot 3 times. They should have allowed him in my opinion. And then you said they dragged her out of the car and took her? No. That's EMS's job to work on her in the car and then get her out of there and transport.
And so there are so many questions. Obviously, the rules of use of force are different between a local agency like Detroit Police and a federal one like ICE and DHS. So we actually tracked down their official policy to compare their written regulations and how things unfolded in Minneapolis. Now, here's the deal. There are 3 excerpts that we want to highlight for you. When it comes to deadly force, the guidelines read like this. Officers may use deadly force only when necessary. That is when the officer has a reasonable belief that the subject of such force poses an imminent threat of death or serious bodily injury to the officer or another person. Deadly force shall not be used solely to prevent the escape of a fleeing subject. Now, on the very next page of the guidelines, there is a specific subsection having to do with vehicles, and it reads this. Officers are prohibited from discharging firearms at the operator of a moving vehicle unless the use of deadly force against the operator is justified under the standards articulated elsewhere in this policy. And when it comes to first aid, this is important. You just heard Steve talk about that. Why? Well, the policy reads, as soon as practicable following a use of force and the end of any perceived public safety threat, officers shall obtain appropriate medical assistance for any subject who has visible or apparent injuries. This may include rendering first aid, requesting emergency medical services, and or arranging transportation to an appropriate medical facility. But here's the thing. If you go to ICE's website tonight to look at those same use of force policies, this is what you find. You're greeted with this. 13 pages of blacked out, redacted material with a reference code B7E, which is specific redaction code indicating the information is relevant to ongoing criminal investigations. Tonight, we reached out to both DHS and ICE for comment. DHS says the agency's policy has not changed since 2023. ICE did not respond. So, with all that information in mind, Steve, we want to get your final thoughts as this investigation enters its early stages. And obviously, there are so many pieces and parts to this. But overall, what do you believe happened here? What do you think of what happened?
It's totally subjective as to whether the woman is fight or flight. She's seen the gun being drawn. Did she want to flee or run over the officer? Subjective in him. Can I get out of the way or do I have to fire my weapon? Am I in immediate danger? Subjective, we'll never know what her thought process was. That'll come out about his. The medical thing, I don't agree with what they did. You got to get there right away. The redaction, it's federal government. Are you really surprised?
Do you believe that the feds and everyday people like us on the streets are rushing to judgment too quickly? How much more time and dedication of really researching this case will it take to find the truth?
I think both, because I think Christine Noem jumped the gun saying it's a domestic terrorist act. No, what happened in Dearborn with a domestic terrorist attack. They want to wreak havoc on a bunch of people. I don't think she woke up in the morning and said, I'm going to kill an ICE agent. My opinion.
Former Assistant Chief Dolunt, we thank you so much for your perspective always here on the broadcast. Thanks for joining us with your insight tonight. Our coverage of this story doesn't stop here. Still ahead tonight, we'll hear from Genesee County Sheriff Chris Swanson, who has some strong words for the agents involved in this tragedy and what this means for law enforcement officers everywhere. You can rewatch this segment and check out all of our ongoing coverage on Fox Local and Fox 2, your home for breaking news across Michigan and across the country.